All right, what's going on, guys? It's Frank with Revive Me Please Gaming. I'm going to do a little series on tutorials on Game Maker Studio Pro. As a lot of you know, this was part of the Humble Bundle this week, and I took advantage of it because this kind of thing interests me. And I'd like to learn some game programming, but I really don't have the time to sit down and learn, Unity or CryEngine or something like that. So Game Maker Studio Pro is a 2D maker that has a lot of drag and drop interface, so it's a lot easier. I think it's kind of geared more towards like making mobile platforms, but you can make 2D PC games pretty easily on this. So I couldn't pass it up on the Humble Bundle because it was $15 instead of spending $800 on it. So I definitely had to take advantage of it. Let me turn my phone down here. So anyways, I thought I'd make this tutorial for a couple reasons, because you can see here when you open Game Maker Studio, you've got demos that you can download. You can actually, install them and see how they're made. You got some great tutorials here that, again, you can install right into the software, and you can look through it to see how they did things. And then, of course, Sean Spalding, whose videos I use to learn this, he has a lot of great videos, so links in the description, all this stuff. But I thought I'd make this for two reasons. One, I'm just starting out. I've only been doing this for about a week because I bought it on the first day the Humble Bundle released. So I'm by no means an expert in this software, but I'm just going to kind of show you as I learn things I learned along the way. And the other reason I decided to make this was a lot of tutorials on this. A lot of tutorials do this, being the player being a little block, and then the platform or objects just being little blocks, and it's kind of boring. So I found this GameArt2D.com where you can purchase different tile sets and sprites to make 2D games. Which is right up our alley here with Game Maker Pro. But in their freebie section, they had a great section of sprites, tile sets, and the graphic interface. So I thought how cool it would be to use this, because these are perfect. I actually chose this one, the jack-o'-lantern. You can see right here, the file format is separate PNG sequences, and you can see here you got an idle, a walk, a run, a jump, a slide, a dead, all ready to go. So it made it very easy to, when you're learning this, to make something that actually looks cool, so you'll stay interested. And then when you show people, they'll be like, "Oh, that's pretty cool," rather than go, "Oh, great, it's a square block that's jumping to square blocks." So anyways, I downloaded this jack-o'-lantern sprites, and obviously the graveyard tile set, and we're just going to make a little platform game out of it. See, it's got some objects here. You can put these there, and it's got all these ground pieces. So we're going to make a little platform gamer. So I'm going to show you the basics today. So let's minimize that. And we'll go right here. We'll create a new project, and we'll call this one Platform Jumper. And we'll follow this series as I release new videos. And then you hit Create. And then this here you can close. This is just a screen of bull. But anyways, here's your main interface for Game Maker Pro Studios. And basically, what you have to make a game, just the basic to put something on the screen is, over here you have to have some sprites, you have to have some backgrounds, you have to have objects, and then you have to have rooms. And that's all you really need to concentrate on, just to get something on the screen and get something moving. So sprites are basically any object in the game, whether it's a player, it's a platform to jump on. Also can be like, I did one where I had the opening screen, said the game name, and then said hit any key to start. Well, you need a sprite to make that any key to start work. So that's basically anything in your game, whether it's seen or not seen. Backgrounds are self-explanatory. That's the background of your game. Objects is what sprites become when you want to insert your sprite or anything. You want to insert your sprite into the game, you have to make it an object. And then a room, you just think as the levels, or room can be the start screen. Like I'll have different things called like menu. A room can be called menu, a room can be called start screen, a room can be called level 1, just whatever it is. And if you go over on Sean Spalding's videos, which I think he actually works for Yo-Yo Games now after making great tutorials, you also want to think about how you lay it out and how you name things, like sprites. Name it SPR underscore and then what it is. So we will show you the basics right here with what I've downloaded. Now, I've already put everything in a folder. I've downloaded the sprites and the tile set. I've got it in a folder, obviously, where I can find it. So the first thing we're going to do, we'll create the background here. We'll go a little bit off the beaten path already. So background. So it's a background. So we'll call it BGR underscore main, or we'll just call it BG underscore main. Just that's easy for me. Okay, and then you hit load, and then we go into our. Oh, I put it in my documents. Game Maker graphics. We go into PNG and we take the background, and we see the width of that image is 2000 by 1143, and I'm going to leave it like that just because it's nice and big when I'm making this video. So basically, there's the background. Okay. Now, we're also going to have a room, which we will go up here, and again, we'll call it RM for room underscore level underscore 1, okay, and then we'll make it the same size as the background, 2000 by 1143, which is huge, but like I said, I'm just doing that so you guys, it shows up on the screen better. And then 30 frames per second obviously is fine for a platform jumper, but if you make it 60, you get a little cleaner motion. Then we come up here and we check this. Now we've got our room, which is level 1. We've got our background, which is our main. Okay, so now we got our level 1 room. We've got our background main, which is kind of a stupid name, but anyways. Now we got to load some things in it. Okay, so obviously we're going to make it look like this in some sort of way. So, and we're also going to be using the little jack-o'-lantern guy. So let's create our first sprite. We'll create a sprite. Again, going by what Sean says to make it easy to find if you have to look for it later. SPR as a sprite, and this is going to be the player. And obviously in these players, if you look back at these tiles, not at the tile sets, at these sprites themselves, we have idle, walk, run, jump, slide, and dead, and they all point to the right. Okay, we could make them point to the left, but that's for later on. So we will go back. We'll go SPR player underscore idle and then underscore right. That way, if I have to look it up again, I'll know that is the player idle looking right. I'm going to load the sprite. Again, we'll go into my library, documents, Game Maker. Okay. So we got all these, and I'm just going to load one to make it easy. We'll load the idle. Okay, there we go. Now we got a sprite. You always want to hit center. That puts all the, I guess the easiest way to explain it, that puts the math in the center of the character. So you always do that. And that's about it. Hit OK. Now you can also, right here, so you can create a group, which will create like folders. So if you have an involved game, and this is when you get to learn more, you could have, you know, a folder or a group called player. Then you can have a group called enemy, or, you know, so on and so forth to make it easier, because that's really what it's all about. You want to make it easy as you can. You want to make it organized as you can. So when you have to edit things, you know what you're talking about. See, I know this is the player standing idle, and he's facing right. Now, in order to get him into level 1, we need to make him an object. So we create an object, and we're going to call that OBJ. And you guessed it, player idle underscore right. Okay, right here it says sprite. Let me drag this in the middle of the screen, make this a little bigger. You guys kind of have to bear with me. I've never done a screen cap tutorial. Right here, the sprite. So you want to select your sprite. And then again, here's where your naming comes into play. Because if you just give it some random stupid name, you're not going to know what it is. But I automatically know this is the player, idle, right. He goes right there. He's always solid. Persistent, we'll get into all this stuff later. This is very basic, and then you hit OK. Now, so we got a sprite of a player. We've got an object that's player. We've got a room that's player. Now we need the thing for him to stand on, right? We need the other piece, the ground piece. So again, we got to create a sprite, and we'll go SPR underscore ground. And I'm just going to call that ground, let's see, middle, because it's a middle piece. So I'm going to load this up. I'm going to go back into my tile sets, PNG, tiles, and this is the middle piece. This is what I'm talking about. See how this has edge here? So we'll take the middle piece, center it again, hit OK. Now we've got a player, we've got some ground. Now we've got to make an object, create the object of OBJ underscore ground underscore middle. And you can load your sprite to double check your name, SPR ground middle. Again, it's solid because it's something you're going to land on. It's a platform room, it's a platform jumper. And then you hit OK. So now, get a little sip of beer there. Now, you have all the things you need just to get something on the screen. So we have a sprite of a player. We have the sprite of a ground. We've created an object out of the player. We've created an object out of the ground. And we've created a level. So now you go back and click on the level. Let's expand this out here. Oh, I don't like that. Let's just make it half screen. Okay, so here's my level. And you're saying, well, where'd the background go? You loaded a background. Well, you got to go up here, and you go background right here. Visible when room starts. Go to this, background main. Boom, there it is. Now, over here, you don't want to try to left mouse and drag through that or anything. You do it down here. If you want to look around your screen, you left mouse in this box. Okay? So, basically, we want to start down here in the corner. Now we've got to have the ground. So you, okay, we're visible when room starts. So we go up here to, this is the background. We go up here to objects. Okay, what object do we want to put in the game? Right here. Add, object add with left mouse. So we'll go to the ground, and boom, there's some ground. We'll put several of these. So we have a little platform to run on. Okay, very simple. This is what I like about Game Maker. People say it's not very good and it's not powerful. Yeah, we're not going to make, Battlefield 1 on this software. We're making 2D games only or mobile games. So there we got some ground, okay? Hit the check up here to save it. Now, whoops, actually we could have kept going. My mistake. We'll go back to the level. Okay, so now we got some ground. Now we need another object, which is our player. And we click here, and whoa, whoa! Look at the size of that dude. It's a little big. He's a little big for our game. So, all right, now we got ground. Now we got a player. So we click OK. Now, what do we do about that sprite? That's pretty easy. We go into this, double click it, and basically, very easily, edit sprite. Okay, and I've already done this, so I know what size to make them. But you kind of This editor is good, but it's weak in some ways. Like if you make it too small and you want to make it bigger, it starts to get real pixelized. So I've already done this once before I did this. So you just hit transform. We want to scale it, obviously. And, if these work for you half or double, that's great. I know from already doing this at 30 is the size I wanted to do to make this tutorial so you guys could see everything. So we hit 30. We hit OK, And now we've got all this crappy transparency. So you want to go transform, trim, border size 0, boom. It takes out all that transparency as close as it can cut it. You hit OK here. Don't forget to recenter because you've resized it. Click OK. Now you go back to your room, and we've got a normal size pumpkin head dude. Now I'm going to move him down here. Don't worry about, see, I can get it. This works out to where snap into the grid. He actually stands on the ground. But if it's up here, don't worry about it. I'll show you that here in a minute. He can be a few pixels off an object. So basically, what we got here, let's see, we'll save this. Okay, so we got a sprite of a player, we've got a sprite of a ground, we've created those, and we've made those into objects. We've got a level, so up here, this green button up here, we should be able to go ahead and make a game. And there you see. Now we've got a background. We've got an object for him to stand on, run on, jump on, which is really key, because when I started this, I thought I could make a background with all the objects already on the image, and you can't do that because it needs an object. It needs an object in the game to collide with, to use gravity on. You know, gravity has an effect on. So that was the first mistake I made. I'd made an image, had all these platforms I drew and all this cool stuff, but it didn't work because they weren't objects. So there is, there's your basic game. Okay, pretty easy stuff. Now you want to make a move. This is where it starts to get a little complicated, because you got to think of this as, not only is it a background, it's a character. He moves left, right, jumps, but and this is for a later video, not for this basic tutorial, but you have to think of all the things, because there's more than just your character, your ground, your background. All of a sudden you got to have gravity, you got to have collisions, you've got to know, there's a lot more to it. So that's why, again, you want to start very organized when you're learning. And that's the one thing that Sean, I like in his videos, that he tells you, organization is the key to easy editing of a video game. If you just like weird names, instead of SPR player idle right, you've got, badass pumpkinhead dude 1. You're not going to know what's going on, So we want to make a move. So we go back to this object right here. And this is kind of the long way, because the other reason I'm doing this tutorial is a lot of people make tutorials go right to code. They want to write code, right? I'm going to learn the code. I want to learn the code. But for right now, I just want to play with the software. So I want to do the drag and drop, which is all this stuff here. So anyways, we've got this guy. Okay, you got the object player idle right. Okay, here's the sprite. He's a solid person. He's visible. Persistent means it just, if it goes from level to level, if you go to a different level and come back, will it still be there? So it doesn't really matter with your player. I haven't really got into these parent masks yet, but anyways, what we're looking at here is events and actions, and this is very simple. These are the easy things. There's so much more to it than what I'm going to show you, but basically, without using any code, you can use a keyboard. If you use a keyboard right here, like you want to use keyboard left and right, then you have to use code. Okay, you'll have to name a key, and then you'll have to do some code for which way he's going. So for right now, we're just going to do totally drag and drop. We're going to go key press, and I'm going to use the WASD because that's my preference in games, no matter what they are. So we're going to do D. Okay, so press D key. What's the action? It's right here. Drag this in. Start moving in a direction. It's going to move that way. It's going to move at, say, a speed of 4. Click OK. But here's the thing. Without using code, it's not going to know that you let off the key. So you have to, this is what makes it hard doing it all drag and drop as opposed to knowing the code. So I hope you guys will eventually learn the code. So you're going to go key release, same one, letter, D, And we're going to go right here, same thing. So start moving in the direction of stop at a speed of 0. Okay? We'll do that real quick for key press A. Letter A, drag that in there. He goes this way. He goes at a speed of 4. Okay. And then when we release letter A, and again, this is the long way. I'll show you here in a bit. When we release A, he's going to come in. I think that this is actually, I hate this because these take so long. He's going to stop, speed of 0. What is this one? Move free. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. A lot of these are really weird too. Like, some of them don't make sense. Like, add an event, you think, oh, hey, there's step. I'm going to take a step, right? No, it doesn't have anything to do with walking. Okay, it's a whole different animal right there. So anyways, so we got press A, release A to start moving to the left. We got press D, release D, start moving to the right. Now if we go back to our little game, a little sip of beer, and there we go. Okay, now our guy moves. Okay, but watch this. It's a platform gamer, so one, he's not on the platform, which I could have corrected, but we'll correct it the proper way. And two, look at, oh, he's not on a piece, so there's no gravity. So you can see it's so much deeper than this. I'm just going to show you the basics of how to get something on the screen. So we want to close that out. And now, I learned this from another YouTube video, which I'll link to all these videos in the description, which is another thing that this yo-yo games is all about. They're about community, too, and building, interacting with people, each other, and learning from it. So, okay, he's not on the ground, so we're going to add an event. We're going to add a step, and a step is basically like, if you start a step, it happens, I think, 30 times a second or something, and it just keeps repeating itself while you play that level until you end the step. So I'm going to go step, let's see, this one right here. Move to contact. So we're going to pop that in there. Move to contact means contacting, right here, you can see it, a direction, the maximum pixels, and against what? Against the solid objects, which is why we called the player a solid object, and which is why we called the ground a solid object. So the direction is pretty simple. If you look at the horizon right here, to the right is 0, up here is 90, this direction left is 180, and 270 is down. So we're going to put 270. So this step, when this character comes into the game, he will, this will just keep running until you tell the step to end, in a direction of 270 down, a maximum of a pixel, hit a solid object and stay there. So we hit OK. Now we go, remember the little space we had, oops, close that out. Now there he is. He is now against the platform, the ground, okay? Because I told it to go ahead and move to a solid object, a pixel down, and then when you get there, stop. So now we got your basic little player. Here we are. Okay? Don't have a jump yet, because the jump is where it starts to already get complicated. Now, even though this drag and drop interface is very easy to use, there are limitations and there are things that you'd have to know code, like the movement and the jump. The jump is really screwed up, because if you go here, you think, well, a jump's easy. I'm going to click on my guy. I'm going to add an event that goes to these nifty little jump buttons. Well, it doesn't work like that. That's where you actually have to start knowing some code. So let's add a couple more here before we cut this video off, and we'll get to the second one. We're going to create another sprite. We're going to create a sprite. We'll call it SPR platform, and I'll use the middle piece again because I don't want to spend time putting all three pieces in. We will load the sprite. I will take the platform middle. I will center on it. Very key here to hit this center. Okay, so we got the SPR platform middle. We create that into an object. Oops. We'll create an object of OBJ. What was it called again? Here, load it up so I can see. SPR platform middle. Platform middle. Okay. It is a solid object. We'll hit OK. And we can go back to our level. And then we go to objects. Go down here to our little dude. Select right here the platform. And now we got something that we can start jumping to. We'll put a couple of them. And I could have used this one down here. You can see this is just a little smaller, and then it's made to round out, so it looks cool. But anyways, for this video, we're just going to put it like that. We click OK, run the game. And you can see now we have a platform. Okay, so we could theoretically run down here, jump on the platform, get whatever goal or whatever we're trying to do in the game, and yada yada yada. But again, as you can see, we got problems. Again, this is just to get something on the screen because we can just keep going. We just went through the platform and then we disappear, which is really, you know, who knows what happened there. So this is just the this is just the tip of the iceberg, just so you can get stuff on to the screen. Appreciate you guys watching. Follow the series. This is a lot of fun. Hope you took advantage of the Humble Bundle. I think it's almost over at the time of this video. So if you didn't, well, you'll maybe next time, or there'll be a sale or something. But it was a great deal. Having a lot of fun messing around with it. And hopefully I can actually make some sort of game out of it. So we'll see you on the next tutorial.